The rain had soaked through my jacket 3 blocks ago, but I kept walking. Cold water dripped from my hair onto my collar, sliding down my spine like icy fingers reminding me that I couldn't afford the bus fare and still buy Emma's medicine. My daughter's fever had spiked again this morning, and the pharmacy receipt crumpled in my pocket felt heavier than it should. $23 that meant no dinner for me tonight. Again. The Italian restaurant where I worked appeared through the downpour like a sanctuary, its amber lights bleeding onto the wet pavement. Vittorio's. An upscale establishment where I served people who spent more on wine than I earned in a week. I pushed through the service entrance, my shoes squelching against the tile, leaving wet footprints that Marco, the sous chef, would complain about later. "You're dripping everywhere, Lily," he called from the kitchen, but his voice held no real annoyance. Marco had 3 kids of his own. He understood. I changed into my uniform in the cramped staff bathroom, peeling off my soaked clothes with fingers that had gone numb. The black dress and white apron transformed me into someone presentable. Someone who belonged in a place with cloth napkins and crystal glasses. I pulled my damp hair into a tight bun, ignoring how pale my reflection looked. The fluorescent bulb above the mirror flickered, casting shadows under my eyes that made me look older than 26. The dinner shift started the way it always did. A blur of orders, fake smiles, and the constant awareness of staying invisible. Rich people didn't want to see their servers as real humans. They wanted ghosts, who appeared with food and vanished just as quickly. I'd perfected the art of being both present and absent, threading between tables with practiced efficiency. "Table 12 needs attention," Susan, the floor manager, whispered as she passed. "VIP reservation. Keep them happy." Table 12 sat in the corner, the most private spot in the restaurant, flanked by tall plants and positioned away from the main dining area. I approached with my order pad ready, my professional smile fixed in place, but stopped short when I saw him. He sat alone at a table meant for 4, and the space around him seemed charged with something electric, something dangerous. Dark hair swept back from a face too beautiful to be real, sharp jawline, straight nose, and eyes so intensely blue they looked almost unnatural in the candlelight. His suit probably cost more than my entire year's rent, charcoal gray and tailored so perfectly it might have been sewn directly onto his body. But it wasn't the expensive clothes that made my breath catch. It was the stillness. He didn't fidget, didn't check his phone, didn't look around nervously like most people eating alone. He simply existed in that space with absolute certainty, as if the restaurant, the entire world, had arranged itself around him. 2 men in dark suits flanked the entrance near his table, not sitting, just watching. Security, obviously. "Good evening, sir. Can I start you with something to drink?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. He looked up, and the full force of his attention hit me like a physical thing. Those blue eyes traveled over my face with unsettling intensity, as if he were memorizing every detail, cataloging every freckle and shadow. The silence stretched too long. Behind me, I heard the quiet murmur of other diners, the clink of silverware, but at this table, the world had gone quiet. "Red wine," he said finally. His voice was low, accented, Italian but refined, educated. "The Barolo. Bring the bottle." I nodded, grateful for the excuse to leave that penetrating stare. The wine cellar key trembled slightly in my hand as I descended the narrow stairs. "Get it together, Lily. He's just another customer," except he wasn't. And some instinct I couldn't name whispered that I should run, should call in sick, should never have come to work tonight. The Barolo sat on the 3rd shelf, dusty and expensive. $400 for a bottle of wine. I'd never even tasted wine that cost more than $8. As I reached for it, my sleeve caught on the edge of the shelf, and I watched in slow-motion horror as the bottle tilted, tipped, and tumbled toward the concrete floor. I lunged forward, caught it against my chest, but the momentum sent me stumbling backward. My hips slammed into the shelf behind me, rattling other bottles, and pain exploded through my side. I gasped, clutching the wine like it was Emma's life I'd saved. Not just glass and fermented grapes. "Jesus," I breathed, checking the label, intact. Thank God. My hands shook as I carried it upstairs, trying to ignore the throbbing in my hip. He watched me approach with those unsettling eyes. I showed him the label, performed the opening ritual with mechanical precision, poured exactly 3 ounces into his glass. He didn't taste it immediately. Instead, he studied me with that same unnerving focus. "You're hurt," he observed. "I'm fine, sir." "Are you ready to order? You're favoring your left side. What happened?" His tone held no warmth, just flat statement of fact. "Nothing. Really. The kitchen recommends sit down." The words weren't loud, but they carried absolute authority. Every instinct screamed at me to refuse, to maintain professional distance. But something in his voice bypassed my rational mind and spoke directly to some deeper part of me that recognized power when it heard it. "Sir, I can't sit." One word. Final. My legs folded before I could think better of it, lowering me into the chair across from him. This was wrong. Susan would fire me. Customers didn't fraternize with servers. But his eyes held mine, and I couldn't seem to move. "Show me." He gestured toward my hip. "It's nothing, just a bruise. I should really—" He raised one hand, and instantly, one of the security men appeared at the table. They hadn't walked over. It was as if he'd materialized from shadows. The man leaned down, and my customer—no, not customer, something else, something more, whispered something in Italian too quick for me to catch. The guard disappeared. Seconds later, Susan approached, her professional smile strained. "Is everything satisfactory, Mr. Valentini?" Valentini. The name meant nothing to me, but the way Susan's voice trembled slightly around it suggested it should have. "Your staff member injured herself retrieving my wine. She'll sit with me while she recovers." "Bring another glass." Not a request. A command. Susan's eyes found mine, wide with something between shock and warning, but she nodded. "Of course. Right away." I stared at the man across from me, Valentini, trying to understand what had just happened. He poured wine into the second glass that appeared, sliding it across the white tablecloth toward me. "I don't drink on shift," I managed. "You do now. Drink. It helps with pain." "Sir." Dante, his lips curved into something that might have been a smile on someone less dangerous. "My name is Dante Valentini. And you are?" "Lily." The word slipped out before I could stop it. "Lily Morrison. Lily." He repeated my name like he was tasting it, rolling it around his mouth like the wine. "You have a daughter." Ice flooded my veins. "How did you—" "There's a photograph. In your apron pocket. The corner is visible." He gestured with his wine glass, and I looked down to see Emma's school picture peeking out from my pocket. I'd forgotten it was there. "She's 4, I heard myself say, though alarm bells rang in my head. "Don't tell him anything. Don't engage." And her father. Not in the picture. My voice came out harder than intended. Dante's expression didn't change, but something flickered in those blue eyes. Calculation, maybe, or interest. "Drink your wine, Lily." I lifted the glass with shaking hands. The wine tasted like liquid velvet, rich and complex. Nothing like the cheap bottles I'd occasionally shared with my roommate before Emma was born, before everything fell apart. It warmed my throat, my chest, spreading heat through my cold, tired body. "You work 2 jobs, he stated. Not a question. "How do you—" "Your hands." He gestured toward them. Calluses on the palms suggest manual labor. Waitressing doesn't create those patterns. "Cleaning, perhaps. And you walked here in the rain rather than taking the bus. Financial difficulty." I set down the glass, fear cutting through the wine's warmth. "Are you a cop?" That almost smile appeared again. "No, Lily. I'm not a cop." "Then what are you?" "Hungry." He picked up the menu, those blue eyes never leaving my face. "Order for both of us, whatever you think is best." "I can't. I have other tables." "No, you don't. I bought out the restaurant for the evening." "Everyone else here is mine. Now choose." The words didn't make sense. Bought out the restaurant? I glanced around and realized with dawning horror that he was right. The other diners, the men in suits scattered throughout, they all carried themselves with that same coiled alertness as his security. This wasn't a normal dinner service. This was something else entirely. Why? My voice came out as a whisper. Because I wanted privacy. Order the food, Lily. My hands trembled as I wrote down items from memory. The osso buco, risotto, grilled vegetables. Dante watched me write, his fingers drumming a slow rhythm on the table. The sound seemed too loud in the strange bubble of silence around us. When I stood to leave, his hand shot out, catching my wrist. Not hard, but firm. His skin was warm, his grip careful, and electricity shot up my arm at the contact. After dinner, he said quietly, we're going to talk, really talk. And you're going to tell me about Emma's father. Why would you possibly care about... Because 3 weeks ago, a man named James Morrison stole from me $600,000, and then he disappeared. His thumb brushed across my pulse point, feeling my heart race. Tell me, Lily, how much do you know about your ex-boyfriend's activities? The world tilted. James. James had stolen from this man. This beautiful, dangerous man with security guards and enough money to buy out entire restaurants. The room spun, and I gripped the edge of the table. I haven't seen James in 3 years. Not since Emma was born. He left us. Convenient timing. It's the truth. Perhaps. Dante released my wrist, leaving my skin feeling cold where his fingers had been. But the truth has many layers, doesn't it? And I'm very good at peeling them back. Go. Bring the food. Then we'll see how honest you really are. I walked toward the kitchen on legs that barely held me, my mind racing. James had stolen from the Mafia. Because that's what Dante Valentini was. I understood that now with crystal clarity. The security, the power, the way everyone deferred to him. And somehow, impossibly, I'd been pulled into his orbit because the father of my child had committed a crime I knew nothing about. The kitchen felt too hot, too bright. I placed the order with Marco, who gave me a strange look, but said nothing. Through the service window, I could see Dante at his table, swirling wine in his glass, those blue eyes fixed on the kitchen door. Watching. Waiting. My phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Chen, my neighbor who watched Emma when I worked late. Fever down to 99. She's sleeping. Don't worry. But how could I not worry? How could I focus on anything except the fact that a mafia boss knew my name, knew about Emma, and thought I was somehow connected to a theft I'd never heard of until 5 minutes ago? I carried the plates out with mechanical precision, set them before Dante with hands that wanted to shake but didn't dare. He gestured to the chair again, and again. I sat. Eat, he commanded. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway. You're too thin. When did you last have a real meal? The concern in his voice felt wrong, out of place, coming from a man who probably ordered people killed over dinner. But my stomach betrayed me, growling at the rich smell of the osso buco, and I found myself picking up a fork. The food tasted like heaven, rich, perfectly seasoned, the kind of meal I'd served 1,000 times but never eaten. Dante watched me take the first bite, something satisfied crossing his features. James Morrison, he began, cutting into his own food with precise movements. Worked for me briefly. Low-level collection. He seemed reliable. Then $600,000 vanished. And so did he. He paused. Took a sip of wine. No one steals from me, Lily. No one. And everyone who tries always has pressure points. People they care about. People who can be motivated to cooperate. My fork clattered against the plate. Emma. You're talking about Emma. I'm talking about leverage, about finding a man who clearly doesn't want to be found, about doing whatever is necessary to recover what's mine. His eyes bored into me. Tell me where he is. I don't know. I swear to God I haven't seen him since the day he walked out. He wanted me to get an abortion. When I refused, he left. No calls, no letters, no child support. Nothing. He's a ghost. Dante studied me with that unsettling intensity, as if he could see through skin and bone into my thoughts. The silence stretched until I wanted to scream. Finally, he spoke. I believe you. Relief flooded through me so intensely I felt dizzy. Thank you. But belief doesn't solve my problem. James Morrison is in the wind, and you're the only connection I have to him. Which means, Lily, you've just become very valuable to me. What does that mean? He smiled then, really smiled, and it was beautiful and terrifying. It means you're coming home with me tonight. You and Emma both. It means until James surfaces, and he will surface when he learns I have you, you're under my protection, my control. He leaned forward, and I caught his scent. Expensive cologne, leather, and something darker, more primal. It means you belong to me now. The leather seat beneath me felt like butter, soft and expensive. Nothing like any car I'd ever been in. Dante's SUV, black, massive, with windows tinted so dark I could barely see out, moved through the city streets with predatory smoothness. One of his security men drove while another sat in the passenger seat, both silent as statues. Dante occupied the space beside me, his presence overwhelming in the confined space, his thigh inches from mine. My phone trembled in my hands. I'd called Mrs. Chen from the restaurant, my voice somehow steady as I explained that something had come up, that I needed to pick up Emma tonight instead of morning. The lie tasted bitter. Something came up. As if being kidnapped by the Mafia was just an inconvenient schedule change. Stop shaking, Dante said quietly. He hadn't touched me since we'd left the restaurant, but I felt his attention like heat against my skin. I'm not going to hurt you. You're forcing me to leave my home, my job. You're using my daughter as leverage. How is that not hurting me? I'm protecting you. There's a difference. I turned to face him, anger cutting through fear. Protecting me from what? I didn't steal from you. I didn't do anything. You existed. You had James Morrison's child. That makes you a target. His jaw tightened. When word spreads that I'm looking for him, and word always spreads, everyone connected to this will assume you know something. Business partners, competitors, people far less patient than me. They'll come for you. For Emma. This way you're safe. Safe? I'm a prisoner. Guest. He corrected, his voice dropping to that dangerous quiet that made my pulse spike. You're my guest, Lily. Try to remember that. The SUV pulled up outside Mrs. Chen's building, and Dante's hand caught my arm before I could reach for the door. Rules, he said. You tell her Emma's spending a few days with you at a friend's place. You don't mention me. You don't ask for help. You collect your daughter and her things, and you come back to this car. My men will be watching. If you run, if you scream, if you try anything. He paused, and those blue eyes held mine with absolute certainty. I will find you. Within an hour, I will have you back. And then we'll have a very different conversation. Understand? I nodded, hating myself for not fighting, for not screaming right now, but Emma's face floated in my mind. Her fever, her vulnerability. Whatever danger Dante represented, at least it was controlled, predictable. Better the devil you could see than the ones who might come in the night. Mrs. Chen answered the door in her bathrobe, her weathered face creasing with concern when she saw me. Lily? Is everything okay? Fine. I'm sorry it's so late. My friend offered her guest room for a few days, closer to my work, so I don't have to commute. I thought it would help with Emma's fever, less stress on both of us. The lies flowed too easily. When had I become someone who could lie so smoothly? Mrs. Chen's eyes searched my face, and for a terrible moment, I thought she'd see through the deception, but then she nodded, squeezing my hand. That's good. You work too hard. Emma's been sleeping since 7. Let me help you pack her things. 20 minutes later, I carried my sleeping daughter down the stairs. Her small body warm and trusting against my chest. She stirred as I settled into the SUV, her eyes opening just slightly. Mama? Her voice was thick with sleep. I'm here, baby. Go back to sleep. I stroked her hair, feeling Dante's eyes on us. When I glanced up, something unreadable crossed his face. Softness, maybe, or recognition. It vanished so quickly I might have imagined it. She looks like you, he said quietly, as the SUV pulled away from the curb. Same eyes, same mouth. Don't talk about her. Why? She's beautiful. You should be proud. Don't pretend you care. She's just leverage to you. His hand moved, and I tensed, but he only adjusted the blanket around Emma's shoulders. his fingers gentle. I had a daughter once. She'd be about Emma's age now. The admission hung in the air between us. I wanted to ask what happened, where the child was, but the pain in his voice, carefully controlled but there, stopped me. Some wounds you didn't probe. I'm sorry, I whispered instead. Don't be. It was a long time ago. He turned to look out the window, his profile sharp against the passing lights. But I understand what it means to protect a child, what you do to keep them safe. So when I tell you that you're safer with me than anywhere else right now, believe me, I know what I'm talking about. The SUV left the city behind, heading into areas I'd never been, where houses became estates and gates appeared between properties. We turned through one such gate, wrought iron, topped with cameras, and followed a long driveway lined with ancient oaks. The house at the end looked like something from a magazine, modern architecture, all glass and clean lines, lights glowing from within like a promise of warmth. Or a very beautiful cage. Welcome home, Dante said as the vehicle stopped. Staff appeared before I could fully process the surroundings. A woman in her 50s with kind eyes and graying hair approached, her smile genuine as she looked at Emma. This is Maria, Dante explained. She manages the house. Maria, this is Lily Morrison and her daughter, Emma. They'll be staying with us. Prepare the guest suite, the blue room, I think. It has better light for the child. Maria's eyes flickered with something. Surprise, maybe curiosity, but she simply nodded. Of course, Mr. Valentini. Would the little one like some warm milk? It might help her sleep more soundly. I looked at Dante, unsure if I was supposed to accept, but he gestured toward Maria. Whatever Emma needs, provide it. Lily is to have access to everything. Make her comfortable. Come, Maria said gently, reaching for my bag. Let me show you upstairs. You look exhausted, dear. The house inside was even more stunning. Marble floors, art that probably cost more than my entire life, furniture that looked like it belonged in museums. But Maria led me past it all, up a curved staircase to a second floor that felt warmer, lived in. The blue room was actually a suite, bedroom, sitting area, and an adjoining smaller room with a child-sized bed already made up with soft blankets. For Emma, Maria explained. The door stays open so you can hear her. The bathroom is through there, fresh towels. If you need clothes, there's a boutique selection in the closet. Mr. Valentini keeps sizes for guests. Help yourself to anything. I laid Emma on the small bed, tucking her in with shaking hands. She looked so peaceful, so innocent, completely unaware that our lives had just been turned inside out. He's not what you think, Maria said softly from the doorway. I turned to face her. You don't know what I think. I see your eyes. You're terrified. But Mr. Valentini, Dante, he's not a monster. Dangerous, yes. Powerful, absolutely, but not cruel. Not to women and children. He kidnapped me. He protected you. There's a difference, though. I understand it doesn't feel that way now. Maria moved closer, her voice dropping. I've worked for this family for 30 years. I've seen things, terrible things sometimes. But I've also seen Dante risk his life to save people who meant nothing to him. He has a code. Honor matters to him, even in a world without much of it. Why are you telling me this? Because you'll need to understand him if you're going to survive here, and because I think... She paused, studying me with those knowing eyes. I think you might be good for him. God knows he needs someone real in his life. All these years, so isolated, so alone. Maybe you're what he's been waiting for. I'm not waiting for anything except to leave. Maria smiled sadly. We'll see. Rest now. I'll bring that milk for Emma. And Lily? She touched my arm gently. Don't try to run. The estate is watched. You'd never make it past the gates, and even if you did, Dante would find you. He always finds what he's looking for. After she left, I sank onto the edge of the large bed, my body finally giving in to exhaustion. The sheets smelled like lavender. Everything here smelled clean and expensive, so different from my cramped apartment with its water stains and broken heating. Emma slept peacefully in the next room, her breathing steady, and I let myself cry silently, tears dripping onto silk pillowcases that probably cost more than my monthly rent. A soft knock interrupted my breakdown. I wiped my face quickly, expecting Maria, but Dante stood in the doorway, changed now from his suit into dark pants and a black shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle. He looked younger like this, less formally dangerous, though no less intimidating. "May I come in?" As if I could say no, I nodded, and he entered, closing the door partway. Enough for privacy, but open enough that I could still hear Emma if she woke. "You've been crying." He stated it flatly, no apology in his voice. "What did you expect? That I'd be grateful?" "No. I expected exactly this." He moved to the window, looking out at the dark grounds. "You think I'm a monster. That's fair. In many ways I am, but I need you to understand something, Lily. James Morrison didn't just steal money from me. He stole from a fund meant for families of men who've died in my service. Widows, children, people who depend on that money to survive." The words shifted something in my understanding. I'd assumed James had stolen from Dante personally, some vanity account, but this was different. Worse. "When I find him," Dante continued, his voice hardening, "he'll pay. Slowly. Painfully. That's not a threat. It's a promise. But until then, you're here. Safe. Protected. And despite what you think, I'm not entirely heartless." He turned to face me, and in the dim light, his eyes looked almost gentle. "Emma will want for nothing. Neither will you. This doesn't have to be prison. It can be something else." What else could it possibly be? He crossed the room in 3 strides, stopping close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. The scent of him, that cologne, that dangerous masculinity, washed over me, making my breath catch. "That depends on you," he said quietly, "on whether you fight this every step, or whether you accept that. For now, this is your reality. I'm your reality." His hand came up, fingers brushing my cheek with surprising gentleness, wiping away a tear I'd missed. "I could make you happy here, Lily. If you'd let me." "I don't want to be happy here. I want to go home." "Home to what?" "An apartment you can barely afford. 2 jobs that break your body. Counting pennies to buy medicine for your daughter." His thumb traced my jawline, sending unwanted shivers down my spine. "Here. Emma gets the best doctors. You never worry about money again. You sleep in silk instead of struggling through each day." Is that really so terrible? "Yes," I wanted to scream. "Because it's not freedom." But looking into those blue eyes, feeling the warmth of his touch, some traitorous part of me whispered, "Would it be so bad? Just for a little while?" "I need to think," I managed. "Then think. Take your time. But know this." He leaned closer, his lips near my ear, his breath warm against my skin. "You're mine now, Lily. Mine to protect. Mine to care for. And soon, when you stop fighting, mine in every way that matters. I'm a patient man. I can wait." He stepped back, and the loss of his heat left me cold. At the door, he paused. "There's a phone on the nightstand. My number's programmed in. If you or Emma need anything at all, call me. Day or night, I'll answer." His eyes held mine with that unnerving intensity. "Sleep well, little one. Tomorrow we begin learning how to coexist." The door clicked shut behind him, and I sat in the sudden silence, my heart racing, my skin still tingling where he'd touched me. Through the doorway, I could see Emma sleeping peacefully, completely unaware that the monster under the bed had just offered to be our protector instead. And God help me. Part of me wanted to say yes. Morning came too quickly, sunlight streaming through windows I'd forgotten to cover. Emma's voice woke me, not crying, but talking, that sweet, babbling conversation she had with her stuffed rabbit. I bolted upright, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar luxury surrounding me, before yesterday's reality crashed back. The Mafia, Dante Valentini. We were prisoners in a gilded cage. "Mama!" Emma appeared in the doorway, her fever clearly gone, eyes bright with excitement. "This place is huge. There's a lady downstairs making pancakes, and she says I can have chocolate chips, and there's a garden with a fountain and—" She stopped, studying my face with that uncanny perception 4-year-olds sometimes possessed. "Why do you look sad?" I pulled her into my arms, breathing in her strawberry shampoo scent, grounding myself in her solid warmth. "I'm not sad, baby. Just tired. You're feeling better? All better. Can we explore? Please? The nice lady, Maria. She said there's a playroom. A playroom. Of course there was. Dante had probably ordered it stocked within hours of deciding to keep us here. I glanced at the clock. 8:30. Late for me. I usually worked the breakfast shift at the diner on Saturdays. My phone sat on the nightstand where I'd left it, and I grabbed it, finding 3 missed calls from Susan at the restaurant and 2 from the diner. Plus a text from Susan. Mr. Valentini called. Said you're taking personal time. Your job is safe. Call if you need anything. So he'd handled that too. Smooth. Efficient. Controlling every aspect of my life with a few phone calls. Come on, I told Emma, forcing brightness into my voice. Let's get you those pancakes. The kitchen was massive, all marble countertops and professional-grade appliances. Maria stood at the stove, and the scent of vanilla and butter made my stomach clench with hunger I'd been ignoring. She smiled when she saw us, genuine warmth in her expression. Good morning. Emma was just telling me about her rabbit, Mr. Flops. Is it? Emma nodded enthusiastically, climbing onto a bar stool. He's very old. Mama gave him to me when I was born. Then he must be very special. Maria slid a plate of pancakes, perfectly golden, topped with chocolate chips arranged in a smiley face, in front of Emma. And for you, Lily. Coffee? I have breakfast ready. I accepted both, settling beside Emma, trying to process this surreal domesticity. Through the windows, I could see the grounds in daylight, manicured lawns, the fountain Emma had mentioned, and in the distance, men patrolling. Guards, watching. Always watching. Where's Dante? The question came out before I could stop it. Mr. Valentini had business this morning. He'll return this afternoon. Maria poured coffee into an expensive china cup. He left instructions that you're to have access to everything. The library, the gym, the pool. There are clothes in your closet, all your size. Emma's room has been stocked with toys, books, art supplies. How did he know our sizes? Maria's smile held secrets. Mr. Valentini is very thorough. He knows everything he needs to know. The implication sent ice through my veins. He'd researched us. Probably knew more about my life than I wanted to imagine. Bank accounts, work history, maybe even medical records. The invasion felt visceral, violating. Mama, can I go see the playroom? Emma had demolished half her pancakes with the single-minded efficiency of a hungry child. After you finish eating, and we stay together. Understand? But Maria said, I don't care what Maria said. We stay together. Emma's face fell, and guilt twisted in my chest. But I couldn't let her wander this place alone. Couldn't trust that the danger was only outside these walls. Maria watched me with understanding eyes but said nothing. After breakfast we explored. The house was enormous. 12 bedrooms, Maria explained, plus offices, a library with floor-to-ceiling books, a home theater, and yes, a playroom that looked like a toy store had exploded inside it. Emma's delighted squeals echoed off the walls as she discovered dress-up clothes, a dollhouse taller than she was, and enough art supplies to stock a classroom. Can I play here? Please, Mama? I wanted to say no, to grab her and find some way out of this beautiful nightmare, but her fever was gone, her eyes bright with joy I hadn't seen in months. When was the last time I'd been able to give her anything beyond basic necessities? When had she last played with toys that weren't second-hand or clearance items? Okay, I whispered. But I'm staying right here. I settled into a window seat while Emma dove into play, and for an hour, I almost forgot where we were, almost forgot the danger. She sang to her dolls, created elaborate stories, laughed with pure, uncomplicated happiness, and I thought, is Dante right? Is this better than what I could give her? The thought felt like betrayal, but I couldn't shake it. She's beautiful when she smiles. Dante's voice came from the doorway, and I jumped, heart slamming against my ribs. He stood there in dark jeans and a fitted black shirt, looking younger than yesterday, almost approachable. Almost. Emma looked up, her natural friendliness overcoming any shyness. Hi. Are you the man who owns this house? I am. And you must be Emma. He moved into the room with that predatory grace. But when he crouched beside her, his movements were careful, non-threatening. Maria tells me Mr. Flops is very special. He's my best friend. Well, besides Mama. Emma held up the worn rabbit. Do you have any best friends? Something painful crossed Dante's face. Gone so quickly I almost missed it. Not anymore. But perhaps that will change. You can be friends with Mr. Flops if you want. He's good at keeping secrets. Is he? That's an important quality in a friend. Dante glanced at me, and I saw calculation behind the gentleness. Emma, would you like to see the garden? There's a swing set and a sandbox. Really? Mama, can I? Every instinct screamed no. But Dante's eyes held mine, and the unspoken message was clear. Trust me with her. Let me show you I'm not the monster you think I am. I'm coming too, I said firmly. Of course. He stood, offering Emma his hand with surprising ease. She took it without hesitation, chattering about Mr. Flops as they walked. I followed, watching how carefully Dante matched his stride to her small steps, how he listened to her rambling stories with apparent genuine interest. The garden was spectacular, roses in full bloom, pathways winding between flower beds, and yes, a professional playground setup that probably cost more than a car. Emma made a beeline for the swings, and I pushed her, her laughter carrying on the breeze. Dante stood nearby, hands in his pockets, watching us with that intense focus. After a while he moved closer, his voice low enough that Emma couldn't hear. You're good with her. Patient. Loving. She's my daughter. Of course I love her. Not all parents do. Not like that. He paused. My daughter, Sophia, she had your eyes, that same warmth, that same trust in the world. The past tense hung between us like smoke. What happened to her? She died. 3 years ago. Car accident. Her mother, my wife, was driving. They both... His jaw clenched, and I saw the effort it took to maintain control. They were gone before the ambulance arrived. Dante, I'm so... Don't. The word came out harsh. I don't want sympathy. I'm telling you so you understand. When I see Emma, when I watch you with her, I remember what I lost, what James Morrison stole from other families. It's not just about money, Lily. It's about protecting what matters, making sure no one else loses what I lost. The raw pain in his voice made my throat tight. That doesn't justify kidnapping us. No. But it explains it. He turned to face me fully, and the naked honesty in his eyes was more frightening than any threat. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to understand that in my world, protection means control. Safety means possession. And right now, you and Emma are the safest people in this city because you're mine. We're not things to be owned. Aren't you? Everyone belongs to someone, Lily. Everyone serves someone. The only question is whether your master is kind or cruel, rich or poor, gentle or brutal. His hand came up, fingers tracing my cheekbone with heartbreaking tenderness. I can be kind. I can be gentle, if you let me. And if I don't, then I'm still those things, because I choose to be. Not because you've earned it, but because Emma deserves better than watching her mother break. Because despite everything, I want you to be happy here. His thumb brushed my lower lip, and heat flooded through me, unwanted and undeniable. I want you to choose this. Choose me. Eventually. That's insane. Is it? Or is it just honest? He leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. Most men would lie. Pretend this was something else. I'm telling you the truth. I want you, Lily. Not just as leverage. Not just as James Morrison's ex. I want you in my bed, in my life, looking at me the way you look at Emma, with trust and love and absolute certainty that I'll protect you from anything. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might burst. You can't just decide that. Want doesn't work that way, doesn't it? His lips brushed my temple, featherlight. Tell me you don't feel it, this pull between us. Tell me you didn't notice how perfectly you fit in my world last night. The wine, the food, the luxury. Tell me you don't wonder what it would be like to let go, to let someone else carry the burden for once. I did wonder. God help me. I did. And that terrified me more than anything else. "Higher, Mama," Emma called, oblivious to the charged moment between us. I stepped away from Dante, from his heat and his words and the dangerous promise in his eyes. This conversation is over, for now. He smiled, dangerous and beautiful, but we have time, Lily, all the time in the world. And I'm very, very patient when I want something badly enough. He walked away then, back toward the house, and I watched him go, my body trembling with adrenaline and something else, something I refused to name. That night, after Emma fell asleep clutching Mr. Flops, I stood at the window of our beautiful prison, looking out at the lights of the estate. A soft knock announced Dante's presence before he entered, carrying a tray. "Tea," he explained. "Maria says it helps you sleep." "Chamomile with honey. I don't want... Humor me." He set the tray on the table, pouring 2 cups with practiced ease. "Sit. Drink. We're going to talk. We talked this morning. We sparred this morning. Now we talk." He gestured to the sofa, and reluctantly I sat. The tea was perfect. Hot but not scalding. Sweet but not cloying. "James contacted you once, after he left. Do you remember what he said?" The question caught me off guard. "How do you know that?" "I know everything about you, Lily. Your phone records, your emails, your banking history, the restraining order you filed against him. Everything." He sipped his own tea, eyes never leaving my face. "What did he say when he called?" I wanted to refuse, to tell him it was none of his business. But the memory surfaced anyway, sharp and bitter. He said he'd made a mistake, that leaving was the biggest regret of his life. He wanted to come back, to be a father to Emma. "And you said?" I told him it was too late, that Emma deserved better than someone who abandoned her, that I never wanted to see him again. "Did you mean it?" "Every word." Dante nodded slowly, something satisfied in his expression. "Good. Because when he surfaces, and he will eventually, I need to know you won't protect him, won't lie for him, won't choose him over..." He paused. "Over what I can offer you, what you can offer. You mean this prison? This golden cage? I mean safety, security, a future where Emma never goes hungry, never wears secondhand clothes, never watches her mother break herself trying to survive." He set down his cup, leaning forward with sudden intensity. "I mean a life where you're cherished instead of used, protected instead of vulnerable, where every door opens for you instead of slamming shut. At what cost? My freedom? My self-respect? At the cost of your pride, your independence, your illusion of control." His eyes burned into mine. "But in return, you get everything else, including me." The last 2 words hung in the air between us, weighted with promise and threat, and something that felt dangerously close to desire. "I don't want you," I whispered. But we both heard the lie. "Not yet," he agreed. "But you will, because despite everything, the fear, the anger, the resentment, there's something between us. You felt it last night at the restaurant. I saw it in your eyes this morning when you watched me with Emma. You're starting to wonder what it would be like, what I'd be like. If I'd be gentle or rough, patient or demanding, whether I'd worship you or consume you. Stop. Why? Because it scares you? Good. It should. I scare myself sometimes with how much I already want you." He stood, moving to the door, then paused. "Sleep well, little one. Tomorrow we take Emma shopping. She needs clothes, toys, everything. And you..." His smile was pure predator. "You need dresses. Beautiful ones, the kind that make men forget to breathe. Because sooner or later, James Morrison will hear that I have you. And when he does, I want him to see exactly what he gave up. What's mine now. Completely and irrevocably mine." The door closed behind him, and I sat in the silence, my tea cooling in trembling hands, trying to ignore how my body had responded to his words, how some dark, hidden part of me had whispered, yes. The boutique was closed to the public, another display of Dante's power, his ability to reshape the world with a phone call. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, while a sales associate named Claire hovered nearby, her smile professional and unwavering despite the 2 armed guards stationed at the entrance. Emma twirled in a purple dress, giggling at her reflection. "Mama, look, I'm a princess." "You're always a princess, baby." I tried to keep my voice light, normal, as if this were just another shopping trip, and not a carefully orchestrated performance. Dante sat in a leather armchair, watching us with that unsettling intensity, his long legs crossed, looking every inch the powerful man who owned everything in his line of sight, including us. "The purple suits her," he said. "We'll take it, and the pink one. The yellow sundress. All of them." "Sir, that's 12 dresses." "I'm aware. Add shoes to match each outfit, and whatever accessories your professional judgment recommends." His eyes shifted to me. "Now, Lily, your turn." "I don't need—" "You need everything. Claire, show her the evening collection. Something red, I think. To match that fire she tries so hard to hide." Heat flooded my cheeks. Anger or something more dangerous, I couldn't tell. Claire gestured toward a different section, and I followed, feeling Dante's gaze burning into my back. The dresses here were nothing like the clearance racks I usually shopped. Silk, satin, designer labels I'd only seen in magazines. "Mr. Valentini has excellent taste," Claire murmured, pulling out a crimson dress with a plunging neckline. "This would be stunning on you. Shall we try it?" I wanted to refuse, wanted to tell her that I wouldn't play dress-up doll for a man who'd stolen my freedom. But Emma's laughter drifted from the other room, pure joy, and I thought of the medicine I couldn't afford last week, the shoes she'd outgrown months ago that I kept putting off replacing. The dress fit perfectly. Of course it did. Dante probably knew my measurements better than I did. The woman staring back from the mirror looked like someone else. Elegant, sophisticated, almost beautiful in the way the fabric hugged curves I usually hid under cheap uniforms. I stepped out of the dressing room before I could second-guess myself. Dante's expression didn't change, but something flickered in those blue eyes. Hunger, possession, satisfaction. He stood slowly, approaching with that predatory grace, and my breath caught despite every intention to remain unaffected. "Perfect," he said quietly. "You look like you belong in my world now." "I don't belong to your world. This is just a costume." "Is it?" His fingers traced the dress's neckline, barely touching my skin, but sending electricity cascading through my nervous system. "Or is this who you've always been underneath the exhaustion and poverty? A woman who deserves silk and diamonds instead of diner grease and secondhand clothes? Don't pretend you're doing this for my benefit. This is about control, possession, making me into whatever you want me to be. I want you to be happy, comfortable, cared for." His hand cupped my jaw, thumb stroking my cheekbone. "Is that so terrible?" "Yes." I wanted to scream. "Because it's making me forget why I should hate you. Because every kindness is another chain." But Emma's reflection appeared behind us, her arms full of dress boxes, her smile brighter than I'd seen in years, and the words died in my throat. "We'll take everything," Dante told Claire, his eyes never leaving mine. "Have it delivered to the estate this afternoon." The rest of the day passed in a blur of luxury I couldn't process. Lunch at an exclusive restaurant where waiters knew Dante by name and cleared the private dining room without being asked. A toy store where Emma picked out books and dolls while Dante watched with that soft expression he got around her, the one that reminded me he'd lost his own daughter, that beneath the dangerous exterior lived someone capable of love and grief. That made him more dangerous, not less. Evening found us back at the estate. Emma, exhausted from excitement, fell asleep in the car. Dante carried her upstairs himself, his movements gentle as he laid her on the small bed. I stood in the doorway, watching this Mafia boss, this dangerous, powerful man, tuck in my daughter with tender care, adjusting Mr. Flops beside her. "She trusts me," he said quietly, straightening. "Children have instincts about these things. They know who's safe. Or she's 4 and doesn't understand what you really are. What am I, Lily?" He moved closer, backing me into the hallway, his body heat overwhelming. A monster? A criminal? Or just a man who sees something precious and refuses to let it go? All of the above. His laugh was low, intimate. "Fair enough. Come. We need to talk, and I'd rather Emma didn't overhear." He led me to his study, dark wood, leather furniture, walls lined with books in Italian and English. A fire crackled in the fireplace despite the mild evening, casting dancing shadows. He poured amber liquid into 2 glasses, handed me one. I don't drink whiskey. You do tonight. Sit. I obeyed, hating myself for it, curling into the corner of a leather sofa that probably cost more than everything I'd ever owned. Dante settled beside me, close enough to touch, but not touching, his presence overwhelming. James made contact, he said without preamble. My heart stopped. What? Not directly. Through intermediaries, feeling out whether I'd negotiate. He swirled his whiskey, watching the liquid catch firelight. He wants to make a deal. Return half the money in exchange for guaranteed safety. Half? He still has the other half? Presumably. Or he's already spent it. Dante's jaw tightened. But that's not the interesting part. He asked about you, whether I'd found you yet, whether you were... He paused, something dark crossing his features. Whether you were still alive. Ice flooded my veins. He thinks you'd kill me? He knows how this world works. Leverage gets used. Debts get paid in blood if necessary. His eyes found mine, burning with intensity. He knows that in my position, most men would hurt you to hurt him. Use you as an example. As motivation. But you won't. No, I won't. Not because of any nobility. I'm not a good man, Lily. Never mistake that. But because somewhere between seeing you in that restaurant and watching you push Emma on the swings, something shifted. You stopped being leverage and became... He set down his glass with careful control. Something else. Something I want to keep. I'm not a thing to keep, aren't you? You're in my home, wearing clothes I bought, eating food I provide. Your daughter plays with toys I selected. Every breath you take here is because I allow it. Because I want it. He leaned closer, his hand sliding along my jaw, tilting my face toward his. You're mine, Lily. The only question is when you'll stop fighting it. Never. But the word came out breathless, unconvincing. Liar. His thumb traced my lower lip, and heat pooled low in my belly, unwanted and undeniable. Your body knows the truth even if your mind won't admit it. You want this. Want me. Want the safety and luxury and someone strong enough to carry all your burdens. That's not... Prove it. His challenge hung in the air, dangerous and tempting. Push me away. Tell me to stop. Run back to your room and lock the door. Do it, Lily. Show me I'm wrong. I should have. Every rational thought screamed at me to move, to escape this moment before it consumed me. But his eyes held mine with hypnotic intensity, and his touch felt like fire and safety combined, and God help me. I was so tired of being strong, being alone, carrying everything by myself. I can't, I whispered, and the admission felt like surrender. I know. His smile was triumphant and tender at once. You're exhausted, little one. Exhausted from fighting, from surviving, from pretending you don't need anyone, but you need me. Whether you admit it or not, this is wrong. Probably, but it's also inevitable. His hand slid into my hair, fingers tangling in the strands with possessive gentleness. I'm going to kiss you now. Not because I'm forcing you, but because you want me to, because you've been wondering what it would feel like since that first night. Stop me if I'm wrong. He gave me time, seconds that stretched like hours, to pull away, to refuse, to prove him wrong. But I sat frozen, my heart thundering, my body betraying every principle I thought I had. And when his lips finally met mine, soft at first, testing, I didn't push him away. I kissed him back. The whiskey taste on his tongue mixed with something darker, more intoxicating. His kiss wasn't rough or demanding. It was controlled, patient, thorough, as if he had all the time in the world to learn what made me gasp, what made me melt. His hand tightened in my hair, angling my head for deeper access, and I felt myself drowning, surrendering to sensation I'd denied myself for years. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. His forehead rested against mine, his control clearly strained. Say it, he commanded softly. Tell me you want this. The words stuck in my throat, pride and fear warring with desire and exhaustion. Lily. His voice held warning and promise. Don't lie to yourself. Not about this. My voice broke. I don't know what I want anymore. Everything's confused. You've turned my whole world upside down. Good. Because your old world was killing you slowly. This one, my world, will keep you alive, safe, cherished. He kissed me again, softer this time, almost reverent. Stay with me tonight, not in the guest room. Here, in my bed. Let me show you what it means to be mine. Every alarm bell in my head screamed danger. But his hands were gentle, his eyes sincere in the firelight, and some broken part of me whispered that maybe surrender wasn't weakness. Maybe it was survival. Emma. Maria will listen for her. She's 20 feet away in the next hall. If Emma needs you, we'll know instantly. His fingers traced patterns on my neck, my collarbone, sending shivers cascading through me. But tonight, for just a few hours, let someone take care of you instead. Please, Lily. Let me. The please undid me. This powerful, dangerous man asking instead of demanding, offering instead of taking. I knew it was manipulation, strategy, another chain disguised as kindness. But I was so tired of fighting, so tired of everything. Okay, I breathed, and watched satisfaction bloom across his features. He stood, pulling me with him, leading me through corridors I barely registered to a master suite that was all dark colors and masculine elegance. The bed dominated the space, huge, covered in black silk sheets that whispered promises of sin and safety combined. Nervous? He asked, reading my expression. Terrified. Don't be. I won't hurt you, won't rush you. Tonight is about comfort, trust. Showing you what you've been missing. His hands found the zipper of my dress. When had I changed back into it? And slowly, carefully, he lowered it. Tell me to stop any time. I mean that, Lily. You have control here even if you don't believe it. But I did believe it. Somehow, impossibly, I trusted that this man, this criminal, this kidnapper, would honor my boundaries even while obliterating all my defenses. The dress pooled at my feet, and I stood before him in simple cotton underwear, suddenly aware of every flaw, every imperfection poverty and motherhood had carved into my body. Beautiful, he murmured, and the reverence in his voice made tears prick my eyes. Perfect. Mine. He undressed with efficient grace, revealing a body built for violence but moving with careful control. Scars marked his torso, evidence of a life I couldn't imagine. Battles I'd never understand. When he pulled me against him, skin to skin, the contact felt electric, overwhelming, like coming home to a place I'd never been. Breathe, he commanded, lowering us to the bed. Just breathe. Let me take care of you. And he did. With patience that shattered me, gentleness that undid every defense. He showed me what it meant to be worshipped instead of used. His hands learned every curve, every sensitive spot, building heat and need until I forgot why I'd ever resisted. His whispered words, Italian and English mixed, promised protection, possession, pleasure beyond anything I'd known. When he finally claimed me completely, his eyes held mine with burning intensity, as if he were imprinting himself on my soul. The pleasure was almost painful in its intensity, waves crashing through me until I cried out his name, fingers digging into his shoulders, surrendering everything I'd sworn to keep. Afterward, tangled in silk sheets with his heartbeat steady against my ear, I felt tears slide down my cheeks. Not from sadness, but from the terrifying realization that everything had changed, that I'd crossed a line I could never uncross. Don't cry, Dante murmured, his fingers stroking my hair with surprising tenderness. You're safe now. Protected. Mine. Nothing will hurt you while I'm alive. That's what scares me, I whispered. That I'm starting to believe you, starting to want this. Then stop fighting it. Accept what we both know is true. He tilted my face up, his eyes serious in the darkness. You belong to me now, Lily Morrison. Body, heart, and soul. And I take care of what's mine, always. I should have argued, should have pulled away, but exhaustion and pleasure had stolen my fight, and his arms felt safer than anywhere I'd ever been. So I closed my eyes, let his warmth surround me, and for the first time in 3 years, I slept without nightmares. Not knowing that the real nightmare was just beginning. 3 weeks passed like a fever dream. Days blurred into nights, and somewhere along the way, I stopped counting the hours until escape and started measuring time differently. Emma's laughter in the garden, Dante's hands in my hair, the strange domestic rhythm we'd fallen into that felt dangerously close to family. I told myself it was Stockholm Syndrome. Survival instinct. Anything but the truth. That I was falling for my captor. That his world had become mine. That when he touched me, I forgot to remember why I should push him away. Emma bloomed like a flower in sunlight. Her cheeks filled out, color returning to her complexion. She had checkups with a private doctor, ate 3 meals a day, played with toys that never broke. And she adored Dante with uncomplicated trust that made my chest ache. Dante says I can learn piano, she announced one morning over breakfast, syrup coating her chin. And he's teaching me Italian words. Want to hear? Bella means beautiful. That's what he calls you, Mama. Mia Bella. My beautiful. The possessive pronoun wasn't lost on me. Dante appeared in the doorway, freshly showered, dressed for business in a dark suit that made him look every inch the dangerous man he was. But his eyes softened when he saw Emma, and he crossed to ruffle her hair with casual affection. Ready for your lessons, Principessa? Yes. Can Mama watch? Of course, your mother can do whatever she wants. His gaze found mine, loaded with meaning. As long as she stays where I can see her. The casual reminder of my captivity should have stung. Instead, warmth spread through my chest, pathetic, broken, but undeniable. I'd stopped looking for escape routes 2 weeks ago, stopped planning, started living instead in this strange bubble where danger wore Dante's face, and safety felt like his arms around me at night. We spent the morning in the music room, another luxury I hadn't known existed in the house. Dante sat beside Emma at the grand piano, his large hands guiding her small fingers over keys, patient as she plunked out simple melodies. I watched from a window seat, sunlight warming my skin, and thought, this is what happiness looks like. This is what I've been missing. The thought terrified me more than anything Dante had ever threatened. My phone buzzed, the secure one Dante had given me, programmed with only approved numbers. Maria's name flashed on the screen. Mr. Valentini needs you in his office. Emma will stay with me. I frowned at the message, meeting Dante's eyes across the room. He nodded once, his expression unreadable, then returned his attention to Emma's lesson. Something in his posture set off alarm bells. Too controlled, too carefully neutral. His office door stood open, but the man waiting inside wasn't Dante. Marco, one of his senior lieutenants, whom I'd met briefly, stood by the window, his expression grim. 2 other men I didn't recognize flanked the door. Mrs. Morrison, Marco said, his accent thick. Please sit. Mr. Valentini will join us shortly. What's going on? He'll explain. Please. I sank into a leather chair, my heart hammering. This felt wrong. The formal address, the witnesses, the tension crackling through the room, minutes stretched like hours before Dante entered, his phone pressed to his ear, his face carved from stone. Understood. Keep the line secure. He ended the call, his eyes finding mine with devastating intensity. James contacted me directly, 20 minutes ago. The name I'd almost forgotten slammed into me like a fist. What did he want? To negotiate. He's willing to return the full amount. All 600,000, plus interest. In exchange, I let you go. The words didn't make sense. Let me go? I don't understand. Dante moved behind his desk, his movements controlled, but radiating barely contained violence. He's been watching, Lily. He knows you're here. Knows about Emma. Knows... His jaw clenched. Knows about us. And now he's claiming he wants his family back. That the money doesn't matter if it means you and Emma are safe. That's ridiculous. He abandoned us 3 years ago. He doesn't get to... He's offering himself in exchange. Dante's voice cut through my protest like a blade. He'll come here. Face me. Accept whatever punishment I deem appropriate. As long as I release you first. unharmed, free to go wherever you want. The room spun. I gripped the chair arms, trying to process. You can't be considering this. I'm not. But you need to understand the choice in front of you. He moved around the desk, crouching before me so we were eye level, his hands gripping my knees. If I refuse, if I keep you here, James stays hidden. The money stays gone, and you remain mine. My prisoner, my lover, my... He stopped, something raw flashing across his features. Whatever we've become. And if you accept, then you're free. You and Emma both. I'll provide security, ensure James can't find you again. Set you up somewhere safe with enough money to start over properly. You can have the life you should have had. The one I took from you. Tears burned behind my eyes. Why are you telling me this? You've never given me choices before. Because in 3 weeks, you've become something I didn't expect. Something that matters more than money or pride or revenge. His hands tightened on my knees, his control fracturing. I told myself you were just leverage, then a distraction, then a convenience. But somewhere between your daughter's laughter and the way you look at me when you think I'm not watching, you became... He stopped, jaw working. You became mine, really mine. Not because I took you, but because you gave yourself to me. And I can't, I won't keep you if you want to leave, Dante. So choose, Lily. Choose honestly. Do you want to go? Take Emma and build a life without me? Or do you want to stay? Accept this world, this life, me, with all the darkness and danger that comes with it? Because I swear to God, if you stay, I'll never let you go. Never. You'll be mine until one of us dies. Completely, irrevocably, forever. The choice hung between us, crystallizing every confused emotion of the past weeks into sharp clarity. Freedom or captivity, safety or danger. The life I'd planned or the one I'd never imagined wanting. If I leave, I whispered, what happens to James? I hunt him until I find him, and when I do, he dies. Slowly, painfully, as an example. And if I stay, the same. Some debts can only be paid in blood. His eyes bored into mine. But you'll be here, safe, protected, cherished, and Emma will grow up with everything she needs and more. A father figure who, his voice cracked almost imperceptibly, who would die before letting anything hurt her. You can't replace her real father, no. But I can be better than him. I already am. He stood abruptly, pacing to the window, his shoulders rigid. The choice is yours. But choose now, Lily. James is waiting for my answer, and I need to know. Do I keep what's mine, or do I let you go? I looked at Marco and the other men, witnesses to this moment, this choice that would define everything that came after. Then I thought of Emma's smile this morning, of Dante's hands guiding hers across piano keys, of nights in his arms where danger felt like safety and surrender felt like strength. I thought of my old life, the endless exhaustion, the fear, the scraping by on nothing while the world ground me down. And I thought of this life, the luxury, yes, but more than that, the feeling of being seen, being wanted, being protected so fiercely that nothing could touch me. Was it wrong? Absolutely. Was it Stockholm Syndrome, trauma bonding, broken pieces clinging together? Probably. But it was also real. The safest, most cherished I'd ever felt. And Emma. God, Emma was thriving in ways I could never have provided alone. I need to ask Emma something, I said finally. Dante's expression shuddered. She's 4 years old. She can't make this decision. I know. But she deserves a voice. I stood on shaking legs. Give me 10 minutes. I found Emma in the music room with Maria, still picking out notes on the piano, Mr. Flops beside her on the bench. She looked up when I entered, her smile bright and uncomplicated. Mama! Listen! She played a simple melody, twinkle, twinkle, with concentrated precision. Beautiful baby. I knelt beside her, taking her small hands in mine. Emma, I need to ask you something important, and I need you to be honest, okay? Okay. Her eyes went serious, sensing my tone. Do you like living here? With Dante and Maria? Do you feel safe? I love it here. There's so much room to play, and Dante teaches me things, and Maria makes the best cookies, and—" She paused, studying my face. "Are we leaving?" "Maybe. We could. If you wanted to." I swallowed hard. "Your other daddy, James, he wants to see us again. We could go live somewhere else, just you and me, like before." "Would you want that?" Emma's face scrunched in thought, and I watched her process with that 4-year-old logic that was sometimes clearer than adult reasoning. "Before was sad," she said finally. "You were always tired, always worried. You cried at night when you thought I was sleeping." Her small hand touched my cheek. "You don't cry here. You smile now, and Dante makes you happy. I see it." Tears spilled over before I could stop them. "Baby. I want to stay, Mama. I want Dante to be my daddy. Is that okay?" The simple words shattered something in my chest. Out of the mouths of babes, truth so pure it cut through every rationalization, every excuse, every fear. "Yeah, baby," I whispered, pulling her into my arms. "That's okay. That's more than okay." I carried her back to Dante's office. My decision crystallized into certainty that terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. Dante stood where I'd left him, his posture rigid, his face carefully blank, but his eyes, those devastating blue eyes, held barely contained hope. "Emma wants to stay," I said quietly. "She wants you to be her father." Something raw and vulnerable crossed his features before he could control it. "And you?" "What do you want, Lily?" I set Emma down, watching her run to Dante with complete trust, her small arms wrapping around his legs. He lifted her automatically, his large hands secure and gentle, and the picture they made, this dangerous man holding my daughter with such careful love, sealed my fate. "I want to stay," I said, the words feeling like both surrender and victory, not because I'm afraid to leave, not because of the luxury or security, but because somewhere in these 3 weeks, this stopped being captivity and became— I paused, searching for words. "Home. You became home, both of you." Dante's expression transformed. Relief, possession, triumph, and something deeper, more vulnerable. He set Emma down gently, then crossed to me in 3 strides, his hands framing my face with heartbreaking tenderness. "Say it again," he commanded softly. "Say you're choosing this, choosing me, freely." "I'm choosing you, Dante Valentini. I'm choosing this life, this world, this family we've somehow built from broken pieces." I met his eyes steadily. "I'm yours. Willingly. Completely." His kiss was fierce, possessive, claiming me in front of witnesses as his control finally fractured. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine, his breathing ragged. "Mine," he breathed. "Forever mine. I'll protect you both until my last breath. I swear it, Lily. On everything I am, everything I have, you're safe now. Always." "I know." And terrifyingly, I did. He turned to Marco, his business mask sliding back into place. "Tell James Morrison his offer is rejected. His family isn't for sale, and if he ever comes near them again, his death won't be quick. It won't be clean. He'll beg for mercy that will never come. Understood?" "Yes, sir." Marco's expression was carefully neutral, but I caught approval in his eyes. "And the money?" "Find him. Take it back. Then make an example. I want the entire organization to know what happens when someone steals from me." Dante's arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me against him with casual possession. "But that's business. This—" He gestured to me and Emma. "This is family. And family is sacred." The next weeks blurred into months. Dante made good on his promises. Emma started piano lessons, enrolled in an exclusive preschool, thrived under attention and stability she'd never known. I stopped working at the restaurant, though Dante offered to buy it if I wanted to continue. I discovered I didn't. Instead, I learned his world. Met his associates. Attended dinners where dangerous men showed me deference because I belonged to Dante. Learned which questions not to ask, which rooms to avoid. Learned the difference between his business face and the man who read bedtime stories to Emma with surprising patience. We never found James. He'd vanished completely, the money gone with him. Sometimes I wondered if he was alive, if he watched from shadows. But mostly, I didn't think about him at all. 6 months after that choice in Dante's office, he took me and Emma to a private beach in Sicily. The ocean stretched endlessly, azure water meeting cloudless sky, and Emma built sand castles with shells while Dante and I walked the shoreline. "I have something for you," he said quietly, reaching into his pocket. The ring was stunning, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds, set in platinum. But more than that, it was a symbol, a statement, a claim. "Marry me," he said, not a question. Never a question with Dante, but his eyes held uncertainty, vulnerability that this dangerous man rarely showed. "Make it official. Become my wife. Emma's mother and my partner, forever." I looked at the ring, at this man who'd stolen my freedom and given me something bigger in return, at the life we'd built from impossible circumstances. Was it perfect? No. Was it conventional? Absolutely not. But it was ours. Messy and complicated and real. "Yes," I said, and watched his face transform with joy, so pure it took my breath away. He slid the ring onto my finger, then kissed me with the ocean as witness, Emma's laughter carrying on the breeze. And I thought, this is what healing looks like. Not perfect, not easy, but whole. The wedding was small, just close family and trusted associates. Emma was flower girl, taking her role seriously in a white dress that made her look angelic. Dante looked devastatingly handsome in a tailored tuxedo, but it was the way he looked at me, like I was something precious and irreplaceable, that made my heart stutter. "I, Dante Valentini, take you, Lily Morrison, to be my wife," he said, his voice steady but his hands trembling slightly as they held mine. "I promise to protect you, cherish you, and love you with everything I am. You and Emma are my family now, my heart, and I will defend that with my life." Always, when it was my turn, I spoke the truth I'd learned through fear and surrender and unexpected joy. "I, Lily Morrison, take you, Dante Valentini, to be my husband. You gave me safety when I had none, strength when I was breaking, and love when I'd forgotten what it felt like. I choose you, every day, for all my days." The kiss that sealed our vows tasted like promises and futures and second chances neither of us had known we needed. That night, after Emma was asleep and we lay tangled in sheets, Dante's fingers traced lazy patterns on my skin. "Do you regret it?" he asked quietly. "Choosing this? Choosing me?" I thought about the question seriously. About the woman I'd been and the woman I'd become. About fear transformed into trust. Captivity evolved into partnership. Survival that had bloomed into love. "No," I said honestly. "I don't regret choosing you. I regret it took me so long to realize that sometimes the best things come from the most unexpected places. That safety isn't always what we think it should look like. That love, real love, means accepting all of someone, even the dangerous parts. I love you," he said, the words still new enough to make my breath catch. "More than I thought I could love anything after Sophia. You brought me back to life, Lily. You and Emma both. I love you too." The truth of it settled warm and certain in my chest. My captor, my protector, my husband, my home. He kissed me then, tender and thorough, and I surrendered to the man who'd stolen my freedom and given me everything that mattered in return. Years later, when Emma was grown and had children of her own, she'd ask about how Dante and I met, and I'd tell her a version of the truth, that sometimes love finds you in unexpected ways, that darkness and light can coexist, that the best families are built not from perfection, but from people who choose each other despite everything. I'd tell her that her father, Dante, the only father she'd ever really known, loved her before he ever met her because she looked like his lost daughter and gave him a reason to believe in second chances. And I'd tell her that sometimes the most beautiful cages are the ones we choose to stay in, where the doors are open but we remain anyway, not because we're trapped, but because we finally found where we belong. Because in the end, that's what Dante gave me. Not captivity, but choice. Not prison, but home. Not fear, but love so fierce it transformed everything it touched, and I'd choose it. Choose him. 1,000 times over. Every single time.